My mother was a Zanoni, and my father was a Fasoli, and there were two cousins.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Two cousins. One was a Fasoli, one was a cousin. So my mother married my father. He was Fasoli, and I became Ida Fasoli.
Okay.
And then I had brother Henry. He's in Paris now, and he was born in Italy too.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we came to America, then when the war, it was going to be the war, and we wanted to go back to Verona to live. So we bought a house there, and we were going to go back, which we did go back.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that time, we were together for 3 years. But then when we came back to America, he could not come back because he was born there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's why he's in Nice, France right now. And then I went to Nice and spent 14 days, which was beautiful, where Grace Kelly lived on a mountain. And I used to.
How old were you?
Well, then I was after Daddy died, Grandpa died.
Oh, okay. So this is recently.
Yeah, I was almost 20 years ago. You know.
What town were you born in?
I was born in Yatesboro, Pennsylvania.
Yatesboro, Pennsylvania. And what year?
1 year,
1910.
1910. 1910.
January 1910.
Yeah.
And what was your father's name?
Angelo.
Angelo Fasoli.
Angelo Fasoli.
And can you name all your brothers and sisters? And who was the oldest?
The oldest one, I think my sister.
Lizzie.
Lizzie was the oldest, and then my brother in Italy, Henry was next, and then Alice, she was born in America here, and then Dina was born in America here.
And what number are you?
Huh?
What number are you?
Well, see, the first one we had her name was Ida.
Right.
And whenever Henry was born, she had a boy, and Ida had the measles. And she went to see my grandmother, and Ida died. So then, after that, see, there was Henry, and then came Lizzie. There was Lizzie. Already, she had Lizzie then.
Right.
And then that's why I became Ida. I was the third one.
Right.
That's it. And then Dino,
he's the youngest.
yeah.
What kind of house did you live in? What do you remember growing up as a little girl? In Yatesboro. What was the house?
No, in the first one we were in the row houses. You know, with the coal mines, where the coal used to come out, used to go out in, and there we used to be together all the time, have big parties and everything. Then we moved to Yatesboro. And then when I used to go to Yatesboro, I was pretty popular. Everybody was after me. I was getting so many letters from boys. I was only 9 years old, you know, it's like that. I love you, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't want to bother. So in the meantime, Grandpa, you know, he's a little older than me. He'd start trading because he'd go to the pool table and he used to watch me go to movies. For a quarter, I'd go in and I'd go 10 cents for the movies, 5 cents for popcorn, and 5 cents for 25 cents. And all those kids going up there, you know, talking, woo, 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 woo. And Grandpa starts following me. I didn't like him to come after me. I used to want him to leave me alone. I didn't want him. I was young, you know, I was only 13. Yeah. I said, leave me alone, I'm having fun. So first thing you know, he didn't want to lose me. So then he says, we're going to come away. we're going to elope, we're going to go get married. So then I didn't want to go. I cried a lot, and I went over my brother Dean, you know, Fasoli, that lived in Culver. You know the Dorsey and Jimmy Dorsey brothers. I saw them a lot of times when they were little. They was playing, and the Dorsey was my mother's lady friend in Italy, and she says I have to go see the Dorsey, and I used to go where Alba, you know where Alba lived, you know, Fasoli, where the Fasolis lived,
yeah.
The Dino Fasolis and all of them, and I used to go stay with them a lot. I used to like to be there, and so. And then he didn't want to lose me, so he said, let's go. And we went in, they would marry us. The judge would marry us. He said, you're a kid, you go home. So then we went to Pennsylvania. We went to Trenton, and that's when we got married.
You got married in Trenton?
Yeah, and everybody said, oh, she had to get married. Well, I didn't have my first baby until I was almost 18 years old.
Right.
So,
But
and it was 15, I was 13 when I
Yeah.
eloped. And you figured out, right away they had, and so I had an uncle that lived in Pennsylvania, and he was working there. He said, my niece Ida just had a baby, and she was born with shoes, hat, she was like 3 years old when Angie was born.
Well, when you were growing up, what was the house you lived like? What was the house you lived in? What was that like?
That was in Blanco, in Blanco. It's a row house, all wood. And I used to go to the country school there. Up the hill, we went and picked berries. We did everything in the hills. We didn't care for big snakes like that. All we did was wear sticks. And so once they made me, we had a play in school, and they made me where 3 little dollies just came from the city. I still remember that.
Tell me about when your school burned down.
And the school burned down, and right away everybody grabbed. We got our lunch, and we sat up there, and the school burned down. In Blanco.
What grade were you in?
Oh, I must have been about in 3rd grade or something like that, 2nd, 3rd grade.
Yeah,
and then we moved to Yatesboro, and then I went to school there. Then I saw a lot of things happened there. Bad things happened there too.
Yeah.
That I saw. Like a kid drowned.
Yeah.
One time, we had a little creek, only this big, a little creek, and there were Joneses. There was a Sicilian, Pollocks, and all people were all families, And I'll never forget the little creek was frozen, and so the kids kept running back and forth. And the next morning, the little Johnny, he was an Irish boy, the mother was feeding her baby on a chair, and the kids, and he was the first one there, and he went under the ice. So Mrs. Jones, Johnny's under the ice. She leaves the baby there, drowns, and she drowns too. And I still see them. They pull him out with he had like a nice beige suit. How they cheat to dress him good. And the mother was with her house clothes, and the father was in the mine. Just imagine him coming home.
Yeah.
Oh, the only one that was saved was the baby. That's a sad story. All the schools were closed that day. That there was a tragedy that I'll never forget.
You can remember that all this time.
Yeah.
What did your father do for a living?
He was in the coal.
He worked in the coal mines?
Worked in the coal, and then we used to go out. Was every time the coal used to come from here, and the motorman used to jerk it. So a lot of coal would fall out.
Right. And the neighborhood would get.
And we'd all go get the coal, and then we used to milk our cow. We had a beautiful life. We enjoyed it there. Yeah. It was nice.
But then you met Grandpa, and then you moved to Trenton, and you got married.
I wanted to go to Detroit.
You wanted to go to Detroit?
No, they were going to Detroit.
Who was?
The Northern Italy people.
Right.
The Sicilians, they're the ones that were going to shoot. You just look at my wife, bang. They were like that, yeah. They didn't think nothing of shooting them. And then one time somebody hit Grandpa. They hit a rock, and they said, "You want me to blow their house down?" They hit Grandpa on the like somebody did it, and my Grandpa's father was so mad. He said, "What do you want me to blow their house?" They were mafia people, but they weren't in it. Yeah. But they used to be, "Oh, you be the godfather for my kids, so you could protect me." That's the way it was. Those Sicilians, they were bad.
So when you moved to Trenton,
and then we moved to Trenton.
Then where did Grandpa learn how to become a barber?
Well, Grandpa first he went right in the middle of town there, and he was doing the hair. He cut ladies' hair. He did all the shingles and everything. So I got my first permanent there when I did it in the beginning. And then he went on his own barber shop downtown Trenton, like right there.
And he was with a couple people? And
then we moved back where we were, like in the other place there. And he had his barber shop. Every time I go by, I see his barber shop there. Yeah. And it's funny, when I go to play bingo with ladies, this lady, she said, "I'm from Trenton." I'm from Trenton too. By the circle of barber shop there. She said, "Oh, my kids went there a lot of times." Now, at Millhouse.
Well, when did he get that barber shop?
Well...
Were all of his children grown?
Oh, yeah, we were all grown.
Yeah.
You remember? Do you remember?
No, it was Jerry remembered it.
And there was Jerry, there was Linda.
Right.
And he's got Joanne. He's got Linda cutting her hair.
Right, I saw
Linda, all that. And, well...
Tell me about the house you lived in. When you lived in Brunswick Avenue, how did everybody end up in the Brunswick Avenue house?
Well, because it was a big one. I had the first, like there used to be a little store. Kramer's was across the street there, and a trolley car used to go around there and go downtown.
The trolley car used to go in front of your house?
Yeah. And then we used to go pick Paul up a lot of times and come at the house, the other house, when we moved, where it was Louise and Mary's house. We bought that house. And, I tell you, I had a lot of... But it's funny that I meet people that she says, "Oh, my son has a store there." I think where Mary has the laundry there, I think her son is running that laundry, and we're meeting up at the Hill House.
Where did you live after Brunswick Avenue? What was the name of that road?
Brunswick Avenue. We went to the.
Yeah, what was the name of that road?
Where
Mary's house.
Where Mary saw and where Mary and Louis. They broke up, they got a divorce, and we bought that house, and then we used to go to Queen of the Universe. We used to go to, St. Reef's Church. St. Reef was back there, and there was a circle. And then, where Joanne's Joanne's, Mike's people, I live. Remember there was a restaurant there we used to have a nice restaurant right on the road, and then down the hill. We used to go to that restaurant all the time. Remember we used to buy you you used to get the ice cream, you used to get soda, we'd be eating there on that road. Do you remember that?
No, I don't. I wish I did.
Yeah.
Right at the circle.
You pass the circle, and you keep on going.
On Brunswick Avenue?
Yeah. You're at the White Horse Circle.
Oh, right.
And if you're this way, you go to Trenton, and you keep on going straight. And then there was a restaurant down there on top of the hill there. You remember we used to go in there. It was like we always used to go eat there. For every time we met, there was a big party there.
Right.
From the church, when we used to go to, even when the Lord that story. You know when they used to go to what is it? Dolores and Bill Miller.
Right.
All right.
Right.
You know where he got married, and he got married right in that church. Yeah. He was there, Dolores and Bill Miller, and then they went to the restaurant around the corner there. It's right on the street. You've been there a lot of times.
Yeah.
And there used to be like a Friendlies there, one of these Friendlies, and you always used to get some kind of a cheeseburger or something and a soda. I always, when I go up there, it's not even there anymore. Well, and there used to be the market, farmer's market, where you used to go, to pick up, like chickens. You remember the market?
Yeah.
You remember when you used to go there and you pick up all kinds of stuff. You used to go through buildings, and people were out there selling their stuff.
Well, Graham, tell us about, what I want to know about is when, from the time you and Grandpop got married until, I don't know, when you lived in Trenton, before you got the house on Harold Drive.
I lived with my in-laws.
Yeah, you lived with your in-laws. But you had a job sometimes, too.
Yeah, I was working in riggers, over the bridge there.
And what did you...
I was making army clothes.
You made army clothes?
Yeah.
That was during the war.
And you remember over the bridge, and you go down there was a big factory, a big thing. And then Giant Tiger was there on the side in front of us. You remember that?
Yes,
Giant Tiger?
Yeah.
And then you went down to the next street. That's when we used to go in and buy the jewelries and all kinds of things. That was that street. You remember that now?
I remember the area.
Yeah.
Right,
you remember there.
And well, tell me about Grandpa's family. Grandpop was the oldest. And who was after Grandpop?
Well, it was Grandpop. It was Grace.
Grace is number 2.
Grace, and then there was Mary.
Mary.
Jim, Bill, Paul, You named them. There's a bunch
Dolores.
of them.
Who was the son that died? Who was that?
That was Sidney.
Sidney.
He was 3 years old, and he
Uh-huh.
had died. I guess he had tuberculosis. Something was wrong, and he died from it. At that time, all the kids that got that sickness, it's curable now. They used to die no matter what.
Well, Grandpa worked in the barber shop with 2 other barbers. He worked for somebody. Do you remember who he worked for?
He was working for about 3, 4 barbers, more than there's working.
Right.
And then
where was the shop at? Do you remember the street?
Right there on State and Broad. You know, like
State
if you
and
keep
Broad?
on going towards where they have the Dipper Bill, we used to go pay